And we are live. Hey guys, it is Alex O'Neill here with me. I have Jarrett Green and Jacob Bryant, and we are going to spoil some Walking Dead.
Finally.
Finally.
Yeah, you might have already done this.
Maybe. It may have been like a month since you played that episode. That's Season 2, Episode 4. But if you haven't played it, here is your warning. Spoilers. They are happening right now. So thank you also, I do want to say to everyone who watches these, since we do have a pretty significant viewer base on these, thank you all for watching. I read the comments and I share them with Jacob and Jared, so don't worry. All those people that
depressing ones in the world.
Yeah, I was about to say, all those people that were like a total asshole at the end of Wolf Among Us, fuck you guys, though.
Yeah.
That was awesome, though. The whole he growls at the end. Oh, that's awesome. So, Episode 4, Amid the Ruins.
Fuck this up.
I don't know if I hated this episode. And I've been waiting to like pass judgment until I talk to you guys about it. Like, I think I definitely hated how it ended. But I don't really know how I feel about this episode. So Jacob, how did you feel at the end of this episode?
At the end, I felt like I'd ruined the entire thing. Like, I was just like, this is game over. I just fucked everything up. And that's kind of how I felt the whole episode. But, I don't know. It's probably my least favorite one, but I've also been liking the episodes generally more than you two have been. This is probably my least favorite. But I don't know. I like the stuff between Jane and Clementine quite a bit. They had like a sisterhood thing going on for the majority of the episode, which was nice. And Jared just left, I think. Yeah.
Oh, Jared got dropped out. I'll invite him again. Yeah, I mean...
But yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
No, that's pretty much what I got. I mean, least favorite, but still enjoyable for me at least.
At some point, we'll maybe get you to write a review of it, so I can read the thorough descriptions of how you felt horrible at the end of this.
Yeah.
I think it's like this has been like the really divisive one. I think I'm using that right. Like it's got the most scrutiny from critics, but it's also gotten a lot of praise. I just I'm not a fan of the cliffhanger at the end. I don't think it was, I thought it was a little too contrived.
And I think they kind of shoehorned in a villain. Like we talked about, where are they going to go with a villain after everything? What's his name? And they're like, hey, these guys are going to, what are they, like Russians? Yeah, they're like just a Russian gang just shows up at the end. They're like, hey, we're going to be the bad guys now.
Yeah.
Like, wild Russians appear.
I guess that's good.
It's super effective. So what did you think of it, Jarrett?
I actually didn't hate the cliffhanger. Only because it was something I didn't expect was going to happen. There was a point in this episode where I just started making like the worst decisions I could on purpose, just so something would happen. So I could hopefully maybe guide the story into something that's at least interesting.
Okay. So like, I hated the cliffhanger. You had dropped while I think I was saying that. What did you think of the episode overall?
Overall, I thought it was weak. It has a couple like non-starter issues that never really come to pass. The best part of episode 3 was, in my opinion, the end, when you're left with a really bad decision and it's not good no matter what you do. But
it was good too.
It also begins like I cut Sarita's arm off.
Yeah.
And then she just dies.
Yep.
So I was like, cool. I thought I was helping her. Apparently, she just couldn't die.
But see, with that, I was kind of okay with, because it seems like, at least if you read the comics and watch the show, it's like, hey, if you cut the person's arm off, that's a guaranteed survive for that person. So like, this is the first time I'd ever seen a character get bit, get their appendage cut off, and then it still die because
and then die anyway. I think my problem was, though, I wanted Sarita around because she makes what was going to happen to Kenny less obvious.
Yeah.
But without her, Kenny's allowed to be that creepy dude that no one really trusts anymore.
Yeah.
So I was
Who's
hoping.
We all cut her arm off. You cut her arm off, right, Alex?
yeah.
Does she make? I
Um,
wonder. Does she make it to the camp if you kill?
Apparently, she makes it if you kill the walker, I think.
yes, she does. I'm looking at this vivid description.
Oh
It
yeah.
says if you kill the walker that attacks Sarita, we have a Wikia page open for reference during this. It's been a little while.
I do
S-
also have to tell Jake, I actually believe Luke has convinced me he's not a child rapist this episode.
What's up?
Me too.
What's up?
I was gonna.
For a
Because
second in this
him and
episode, I was
Jane got
concerned.
some for a second, and I was like, that's the
Yeah.
right decision. He wasn't like, Clementine, let me corner you. He was like, look, an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at this dude.
I was super disappointed too. I was ready for him to just
Wow.
like, go full crazy.
I mean, that could be like the plot twist in the end. He could be the real villain, not the Russians. But
Yikes.
Now's the
it would still
opportunity.
ruin me.
now's the opportunity to be the serial rapist we all think he is. When he's got me thinking that
Yeah.
he's not.
He's not a pedophile. Or a
I mean,
rapist.
he might not be, but he might
No,
be.
he's for sure.
He's
It'll ruin me.
probably not. But,
But-
The fact that there's still a probably after 4 episodes is depressing.
yeah, I mean, I guess let's talk about the beginning of the episode. I was a little disappointed that it picked up like right where it left off. Honestly, I was expecting like because it's literally the second after the end of the episode, and I thought that ending was great, and I thought they could jump from that with a little ambiguity of the details, but I thought it was kind of jarring and I guess exhausting. Like mechanically to just jump right into like this really intense action scene, and I feel like they blew the horn right off the bat, and from there it was just the pacing was it felt like exhausted, but like I didn't dislike the scene except for there's a part where you're with God damn it, I'll never remember her name. Rebecca.
Jane? Oh.
And you have like 3 seconds to go left or right. And if you miss the right opportunity, you just have to wait until you die, which happened to me twice.
Excellent.
And it's like you get a second to go left, and then you get a second to go right, and then you have to wait like 10 seconds. You're just sitting there. There's nothing you can do, and then you die. And then it loads from like 3 conversation options before then, so that was annoying. But I don't know, like, what did you think of the opening, guys? Jacob?
I thought it was kind of annoying, a little tedious. Well, I mean, I hate Rebecca, so, and just being with her, I was like, can I leave you? Just,
Yeah, right?
But, yeah, I think it would have been cooler to kind of not start right after episode 3 ended, because it really didn't, after Sarita option, nothing interesting really happens until after you leave. Like, you just, got to avoid some zombies. That hasn't been done in the last 7 episodes,
Yeah.
or 8 episodes of the first 2 seasons, so it wasn't, I don't know, kind of a little bland opening after this sweet ending.
Yeah, like if like you all got through, because everyone knew that you were all gonna get through, and then or like most of you got through and be like I didn't see Nick get through or something like that, and like it just jumps to when you're like past the herd, and they're behind you, and it's like then you're like dealing with the decision that happened. I feel like that would have been a stronger start.
Yeah, and it's crazy how less interesting the action is in The Walking Dead compared to The Wolf Among Us.
Yeah.
Like, it's some. I think the action-oriented scenes are often the worst scenes, the worst moments in any episode of The Walking Dead. It's just, I don't know. You just hit left or right, you're dodging more than you're fighting, and
Yeah, like it's funny. Like the one other action scene, or like the major action scene in the trailer park, I thought was really good, because it had like a good pace to it. But this opening scene felt like really just shitty to me. What What about you, Jared? What did you think of the opening?
I don't know. I feel like the opening, it was what it was because you have to kind of paint the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think. We're looking at it in a I guess a vision, in a reflection, sort of. We know that at the end of the day, it didn't matter. But while we're in it, we're not too sure what matters. So I guess walking through the horde could be a tense moment if you're not so sure who else might die. The problem is everyone who it will predictably die did. So like Carlos didn't make it, and Sarita didn't make it, or maybe Sarita did make it, depending on what you did. But
Mm-hmm.
and that would have been more surprising if Sarita did make it because I mean she looks like fodder.
Yeah,
She's
pretty
like
much.
she's like the character archetype for people who die, just to make other
Yeah.
people like change. She's like plot device 101,
Yeah.
and that's kind of sad. It's also the fact that it took so long to get out of the first scene was probably more disappointing. Like, even if we had to walk through zombies, like, she has to recode herself and, like, step through or whatever. That's fine. They get to the trees. Jane's like, you have to, like, not be an asshole right now, or we're all going to die. And Rebecca can't handle it. Surprise. Though she could handle
Yeah,
getting that
right.
far, and she could handle, letting Alvin just get killed by a crazy person who may or may not be your baby daddy. But
Oh, I got to see the Alvin scene, by the way.
did you finally?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It's pretty good. But like she can handle all that, but when it's time to walk forward slowly, and it'll be okay. A person in front of you has just proven it works. She can't handle it. Then Jane has to go get someone and then walk you through it anyway. Like that could have all just been a cutscene, and there was no interaction for me that really did anything except maybe I could die now.
Yeah.
But it's not very hard. You step right and left once, and then it's over. So that's the gameplay part of that, and it doesn't necessarily need to be anything. That
Yeah.
scene was probably 20 or 30 minutes. It could have been like 10 or 15.
Yeah, it could have just blazed through. It just like it was weird, like so much action starting off like the first thing in one of these kind of super story driven games. It feels out of place. It feels like, all right, let's start with something and have the action kind of spruced in. Like even the Wolf Among Us finale, which it basically starts with a really intense action scene. The dialogue before it, which is like maybe 5 minutes of dialogue, builds this tension as opposed to just there is no tension building. You're just in it from the get go.
Right, and the tension was there from episode 4, but they found a way to build on an already tense situation by pretty much just doing the same thing, but times like a million.
Yeah, with like we discussed in our spoiler cast of that, kind of like everybody yelling back and forth at the beginning of that scene.
There was no,
Um,
like, even when it was supposed to be chaotic in The Walking Dead episode 4, the beginning, it's supposed to be a scene of chaos. Like
yeah,
there's gunshots everywhere. There's a bunch of zombies running around, and you have to get between all of that and not die. That should be chaotic, but it seemed tame and like tepid in comparison. And
yeah,
it's that was like a wasted opportunity, I think.
yeah. Um, so like then it goes from that opening scene to the Civil War memorial, or like memorial, I guess is the right museum esque thing, um, where like you get some time to sit down with now pissed off Kenny, who is pissed off one way or the other, obviously, um, and so like if you kill the zombie that bit Sarita, she makes it to uh, the camp, and I guess at some point that problem has to be dealt with. Um, I don't know. We all hacked her arm off, but all I know is that she will live to the camp at least. Um, and then you're like, let's go look for because you meet up with Bonnie and Mike and Kenny and Luke, I guess. Or no, not Luke. Let's go look for Luke and Nick and Sarah. Everyone's favorite character, Sarah.
Sarah.
And yeah, then you go to the trailer park, which I thought this trailer park was actually the strongest scene in this whole episode, and it really made it for me. I think that that scene is why I don't dislike this episode, at least not entirely. Because you have like this weird like mentor moment with Jane, who I was pretty into by the end of the previous episode, and I'm glad that she got like plenty of time to shine in this episode. And then you learn this cool trick of kicking a zombie's leg and then taking it out. Clementine gets a new weapon of like the ice pick kind of. And there was like a super basic puzzle, but
It is like really basic.
it felt like it had like a little bit of everything, and it was well paced. I don't know if you guys liked the scene at all or not. Leading up to before we get to the Luke and Sarah part, obviously, and if Nick was alive, by the way, he's dead now. A lot of people were upset about that. Was that
Nick just suddenly dies, and that's it.
I thought that made sense, honestly. I wasn't too like upset about it. I'm like, sometimes people will die, and you'll have to put them down as a walker. I thought it was a little stupid how much they drew out killing his walker form. Jacob got dropped, so I'm gonna bring him back. What did you think, Jared?
I think that scene, you mentioned the mentorship thing.
Yeah.
There's a scene before that where they're walking through the woods together.
Mm-hmm.
Jane and Clementine. That seemed like super heavy-handed in a way to make Jane like relatable or likable. When she's like, "Oh, I had a sister once," and Clementine's like, "Oh, tell me about your sister," and she's like, "I can't. She died." And I'm like, "Cool, we know everyone died." That was a moment of like artificial tenderness. It didn't really need to happen, I think.
Yeah.
Like, we have to assume that if you're a Walking Dead survivor, you probably had a sibling that died.
Yeah, and like they've addressed it. Like, everybody has a family.
Right, and like there doesn't have to be a particular frame set for her to explain why that affects her the way it does. We can assume that the reason why you're a loner is because like people around you die and you're not okay with it. That could be a subtle thing that can just be a narrative that is subtle but I guess atmospheric and not like so blatantly told to us. Like we know because we played now 8 episodes of this game.
Yeah. And I have a comparison that is super obvious that I'll bring up when we get Jacob back in here. But like, I don't know, like that scene was like, I think it rubbed me the wrong way the second time that scene happens, because it happens twice pretty much.
Yeah.
Than it did the first time. Because like the initial scene of them just kind of talking back and forth was like, all right, I get it. Jane had something that's obviously going to thematically tie into what is about to happen, and then it does, and then you have that scene except with Luke and Sarah again, and I thought then that's when it was not good. But like, I don't know, it didn't super rub me the wrong way at first, but I see what you're getting at.
I feel like the second time is when it should have happened without the first time. Because then it's Jane dealing with it again, like, directly. So now she can directly address it.
Yeah. And, like, there was a relevant reason to pick it up, like, bring it up because of what happened with Sarah. So, like, her bringing up her sister just weirdly out of context in that first scene.
It's not just them shooting the shit, walking around and, looting people. Oh, by the way, had a sister once.
I had a sister.
Yeah, she's dead.
What did you think of like the mentorship, Jacob?
How much did I miss?
Not so much. We were just talking about the scene where there's exposition for Jane without really any cause for it.
Oh yeah. At the beginning, it felt kind of weird, but as it went on, I could see how like Clementine could for sure just become Jane, and that's kind of what the whole episode's about. Like, does she become like a loner like Jane, or does she stay to like how Lee told her to survive with people and stuff? Like, that's kind of the whole point of the episode. But
Yeah, I was like, oh god, Jesus, excuse me. I got that vibe as well. But like, now that you're back, Jacob, I just want to bring up Jane is literally just Molly from The Walking Dead season 1.
yeah, no, I know. I thought in the last episode, I thought, is she actually Molly or
No,
just like
but
a Molly
No,
clone?
but she might as well be Molly.
Yeah.
she's
I thought
like,
I thought it was Molly when we see her in episode 3. Like, I was like, oh, there's Molly.
yeah, there was a moment where I thought about that, but like, it's like, she comes in for episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
She
leaves.
stays around for a little bit, and then she's like, I don't do well with people, I'm out. Literally the exact same plot arc. Which I just realized while we were recording this. I don't know why I didn't put that together beforehand. But, yeah, let that one sink in. It happened in the same episode as well. I mean, yeah, she like showed up and actually started doing something around the end of episode 3, but like her role in this episode is exactly her role in episode 4 of season 1.
Yeah, I mean, I did like how they incorporated her into the gameplay wise. Like, she, that whole section where she's teaching Clementine how to take out a walker more effectively. I
Yeah, I like
okay.
that as well.
I mean, in the beginning, yeah, she's kind of when she's like, hey, guess what, guys? This is going to be about being sisters and sisterhood and stuff like that. Like, out of context in the beginning, I was like, I don't care, Jane. Don't care at all. But then as it continues, it's like, okay, it makes more sense now how she kind of sees Clem as a sister, and I ended up being probably better than what I expected from the beginning.
Yeah.
But
What did you think of Nick just dying?
hated it. Stupid.
You didn't like it?
Idiotic. I mean, I could care less about Nick. He hasn't done anything since like the first 5 minutes of episode 2
Yeah.
when you're in the shed with him.
Since
but
like the old ass dude like gets shot, and that's pretty
Yeah.
much Nick.
you make a
Yeah,
decision
since
for him
he
at the
shot
end
the
of
Asian guy in the
episode 1.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fucked everything up for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, but still, I thought it was dumb to kill him, one of the focal characters off screen and just show him dead.
See,
I don't
like
know.
that, I was telling Jared like that didn't super bother me because like it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
people
Clem
die
Clem can't be around everyone when they die, but
Yeah,
it's a video
I
game
feel like
too,
it
so.
it could have been introduced better. Like if you
Yeah.
run into Luke beforehand, you'd be like, "Where's Nick? I haven't seen him in like an hour," and then you stumble upon him, and Luke has like a moment.
Yeah.
Because they were close. So, but they did kind of just brush it under the rug. Like we have to get rid of a character. So
And it wasn't even
It was
like,
very B movie.
yeah,
Like, we don't know what to do with him anymore, so he just dies.
he's a dead guy. And it wasn't even like, it wasn't even special. Like, Clementine was like, sorry, Nick, I'm gonna shoot you in the face now. No big deal.
And Jane's like, whatever, man.
Yeah. So,
She's like, I get it. It's just Nick.
So apparently,
Wasn't-
in that opening scene, if Tavia up on top of the holdout that you're escaping from shoots Nick in the shoulder.
hmm
But I don't even remember that.
I remember him getting shot, but
But that's like literally the last time you see Nick alive.
yeah. I mean, he got shot, but he was still able to sprint away on 2 feet, so I was like, can't be the worst thing to happen to him.
It's that adrenaline, man.
Yeah.
It's blood pumping. So what did you guys think of the fucking Sarah scene? Because that's like the next important part. Did Sarah die in the scene for either of you?
I left her ass behind.
Okay.
So she got tore apart by zombies.
Okay.
I couldn't do that to Luke. I had to, my boy.
What
had to
happens
get
if she
out.
gets torn apart by zombies? I'm curious.
Well,
Honestly.
when you're talking to Sarah and you're trying to like motivate her to get up,
Yeah.
and she looks like she's about to come around, and then like zombies burst through the door,
Yeah.
and you have to make a decision. And I didn't want to sit there and wait because I didn't want to lose to like Luke or Jane, who would probably try to do something stupid to like stop this from happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, Sarah, if you're not
They-
going to play ball, you're not going to play ball.
They definitely do cut it close with Jane.
But you climb, like, you lift Luke up first. Luke grabs you and pulls you out, and then pulls Jane out. Sarah's, like, in her, like, sort of semi-comatose state until she realizes you're leaving without her.
Yeah.
Then she kind of looks up and, like, is incredulous about where you're going, and then zombies roll up, and it doesn't really work out for her.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I mean, it doesn't end well for Sarah either way.
Yeah, I figured she was going to die.
Her death is way more satisfying, it sounds like, if you keep her alive for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it is more satisfying what happens to her later.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth more now because everyone kind of has to feel bad about it because it's their fault.
Yeah.
It's like directly their fault because they could have done anything and they chose to do nothing.
It's
Luke
frustrating.
still is like, oh, why did I go up on the roof first? I could have done something. I'm like, no, you couldn't have.
Don't die,
broken
Luke. I
arm.
need you.
I need you, Luke.
It's funny because like you when you have the choice, like you can lean in and do like a conversational thing, like one more conversation option, and one of them is peace the fuck out, so you can just go back on that decision pretty much immediately, which I like because they don't really give you that option very much. And then after the conversation option does nothing, it's like slap her.
I
or
slapped the
leave.
shit out of her.
And then of course, you slap the shit out of her, which is what I did. And she's like, "Move!" And Sarah's like, "Okay."
So really, Alex and I won because not only did we get to watch Sarah die, we also got to slap her across the
the
face.
Yeah.
I got to pull a Carlos on her face.
Yeah. Fuck.
That's right. You went from never getting touched to getting slapped twice in like 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your life now, Sarah? But yeah, I thought that scene like went on for like a little bit too long, just like getting out of there. I like the moment where Luke realizes that you have to move the dresser that they were using to block the door to get out of there, and stuff like that. But like the conversation with Sarah was like, all right, there only needed to be one option here, and if that didn't work, it should have progressed to something different. But other than that, like that whole trailer scene, I thought was the strongest point of the episode. I don't know about you guys, but this episode felt like it went on forever for me.
Yeah.
It did.
I thought it was long too. I feel like the whole thing, I mean, I'm going to jump ahead a bit, but the whole thing in the Civil War Museum was pointless. I was like, what am I doing here? I don't care at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to chase a raccoon for 10 seconds?
For no fucking reason.
Stop. I'm not, you don't even catch it. You just watch
But
it
it
go
was
away.
fun.
It wasn't fun. I saw a raccoon I still wanted to eat, and it had babies. I want to eat them too.
I fucking loved when Jared's...
Do you get it right on the first guess?
Jared's character, in the game, Mike, he's like, I would eat the shit out of that raccoon.
Yeah.
I'll think the same thing. I was like, I would eat the shit out of that raccoon. 'Cause it's a zombie apocalypse. I'm starving.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they were like, oh, we didn't catch it, but at least we had fun. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We might
That's what I
starve
was
now
like.
because we didn't get that raccoon.
I'll say I had fun in that scene. I was like, yeah, that was fun. But like just for like a second.
The random zombie like burst out of the locked door. That was stupid as hell too.
That was dumb. That was incredibly dumb. So like after you come back with Luke and Sarah, or just Luke, you decide to go with Jane because Bonnie's like, I don't trust that bitch. Or you can go with Bonnie and Mike. So what did you guys do first?
I went with Jane.
Same.
I went with Jane as well. Okay. I've seen.
Didn't you have a conversation with Kenny before that, Alex? About
Yeah,
Sarita being...
Yeah, you go into the tent and Kenny's all like staring away from you, and you're like, "This could go one of two ways, and one of them is him murdering me in this tent."
Yeah. I liked that scene, even though it was kind of like clearly the death was supposed to just be like, now Kenny has to be insane almost.
Well, of
But
course,
I still like
Kenny has to be the villain.
Yeah,
Like-
I still like, because of the history I had with Kenny, I still kind of liked that scene because of how like it shows how much Clementine had become like less of a kid, more just like, you have to own up for this shit that you do now. Like, you're not just a kid anymore. You're like the main contributor to this group, in all honesty.
Yeah, of course. Like this fucking, she's the linchpin. If she wasn't there, this whole everything would fall apart.
And I think Kenny, like, the real worth about Kenny's sort of, I guess, turn is only important if you've played the first season.
Yeah.
Because you don't know Kenny any other way if you haven't.
Yeah.
And Kenny's like sliding into like madness in a more believable way than a lot of times these sort of things happen. Like usually in other sort of media, it's like one particular incident causes like a break, and then they're suddenly crazy. And he's not really crazy. He's just prone to like super hyper focused rage, which is something that someone like full of PTSD or full of like emotional instability who's turning bipolar would be. Like anger makes him do like really stupid shit, and then he's okay afterwards, but he's never okay. You can never know when it's gonna happen again, and that's where Kenny's at right now. He might not be like sinister, but at any point he can just lose his shit and ruin it for everybody.
And after everything that's happened to Kenny, if there's anyone that deserves to have just complete meltdowns every now and again, it's him. His life has sucked more than most.
Yeah, it's like I think the initial scene when you get to the camp for the first time that you have with Kenny, where he just tells you to fuck off. I didn't like that. I liked the second scene. I didn't like that because I was very frustrated. I think, like, understandably, but I wasn't like, this makes sense frustrated. I'm like, Kenny, this is all on you, and you are gonna break this bullshit apart. And it would be easier if you had died in that mob scene. And it was like,
what you're saying. You watch your goddamn mouth.
It was this episode was like, I wish Kenny wasn't around anymore. Like, I wanted him to be dead by the end of it. I did not want to deal with him because it would be fucking easier. Like I get the Jane mentality, and it was just like I felt like when Kenny becomes more of a hindrance, than like even just like a powerful ally. And, like, yes, having him around for, like, the baby being birthed makes sense, but it was super frustrating for me. And I know that at some point in the 5th episode, I'm confident that you're probably going to have to kill Kenny. I'm pretty sure that that's where this is going.
Don't do that. Clementine will take herself out before that happens.
It's just like,
can you imagine the last option: kill yourself or kill Kenny?
Clementine would die
there. Be a 13-year-old and just shoot yourself in the face.
That'd be great. Let's do that. It's just like I feel like it's pretty obvious that's where they're going with it, with him becoming super unstable. Or at some point, like, he's gonna do something super reckless, and it's either gonna he's gonna put you directly in harm's way and get himself killed in the process, something like that. But like I like the second scene where it's like him like sort of solemn and darkly like ominous in the tent, I thought was alright though. But like I was just super frustrated with Kenny. It was weird like watching my roommate play and him like always being on Kenny's side regardless, and I'm like, I cannot even stick up for him anymore. He's ride or die with Kenny.
See, I'm like 50-50. Like in the first game, I was like, Kenny all the way. Whatever you want to do, Lee's right there with you. In the second game, Clem has been more like, I'm probably 60-40 sided with Kenny. But like I sat with him at the table right when I met up with him. Luke broke Luke's little pedophilic heart. And then, but like some of the stuff in this episode, I was like, Kenny can't. Like some of the later decisions, I was like, don't agree with you, Kenny. Yeah,
it was just it's harder and harder to justify agreeing with him, I think. And like I'm sure that's the whole master plan.
Yeah, and I think that for me, for you it doesn't sound like it's working as well, but for me it's like the slow decline in how much I am siding with Kenny is like kind of hurts me. Cause I'm like, because I know what Kenny's like, and when he's like not at his worst, I'm like, I want that Kenny back.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the frame, that's the point. Like everyone who's played the first one has like a really fond memory of Kenny, and he's not like anywhere near that anymore, and probably is never coming back after like episode 3 and 4. Like that Kenny's gone.
Well, like with how my episode ended, I'm sure he's not coming back. And it's like Like I get it, and I agree with you, Jared, that they are realistically depicting his decline because a bunch of fucked up shit has happened to Kenny, and on top of that, he probably has like permanent brain damage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Getting his eye bashed into his brain.
Yes.
But like I think it's just frustrating for me to play that as opposed to like a good characterization. And that might be just because I'm turned off to how they're portraying characters in The Walking Dead at this point. Like I actively dislike Clementine as a character at this point. I know I'm breaking your heart, Jacob.
I don't get that's one I don't, because I don't like, the only characters I like in season 2 are Luke, Kenny, and I liked Jane for one episode. So that barely counts. Everyone else has been meh or awful in my eyes. But Clementine is just, I mean, God.
Like
so
I
good in
don't
my eyes.
I don't like the characterization options for her. Like I don't. Most of the dialogue options are like I wouldn't pick any of these. And I found myself like 90% of the time going with ellipses at this point. I just like. I understand the portrayal of them like trying to make a character that feels like a kid, like no one listens to them, but like playing that is not fun. And just in stark contrast to the first season, which was a lot better because you played someone who could get the attention of the room. It just it frustrates me. And like I said in one of my reviews, like Clementine having a scowl on her face like 100% of the time is like super disheartening.
She's broken.
She's broken.
But anyway, so we all went to the souvenir shop with Jane, and then I guess like the only real thing that happened is Arvo shows up, and then you're faced, I guess, with the most important decision of the episode, even though it literally doesn't matter either way, of take medicine from Arvo or don't take medicine. So what did you guys do? I didn't take it.
You didn't take it?
I robbed Arvo. I was like, that's mine now.
I stole the shit out of his stuff, too.
Yeah.
Alex, if he wouldn't have had those weird metal leg things, would you have taken the medicine from him?
I don't know. Like,
if it wasn't all limpy.
If it wasn't all limpy.
The thing was, in my head, I'm like, he's got friends. I know he does, so I'm not going to step on his toes. The situation rubbed me the wrong way. He was making a drop. It felt like this was, I was getting into something that I didn't want to get into. So just take it and go. Go back to wherever you were, and don't bother us again. And of course, it doesn't matter.
Of course,
right.
So like my whole idealism behind this was hoping that because I saw him in that last scene, and I'm like, fuck. And I'm like,
you should have been like, oh, what's up, Arvo? We're friends.
I was like,
Jared and I should have been like, God damn it, here comes this.
Like when she's like, hey, Arvo, I was like, I felt the same way. I was like, this is gonna get real awkward.
Well, like the thing was, I knew exactly what was gonna happen. Of like, he's got people. They're probably gonna point guns at us. I know where this is going. There is no way where Arvo's like, thank you for not robbing me, let me help you. That I knew that wasn't going to happen because that's fucking bull. That's maybe even more bullshit, but as soon as I saw him, I'm like, fuck.
Which is part of the reason I decided in episode 4 I was really just going to be like OG fucking gangster-ass Clementine, because it doesn't really matter. And the worst that can happen is that things get interesting and someone who shouldn't have died. So at this point, in a narrative sense, I stole from Arvo. So Arvo and his crew have perfect motivation to kill us all.
Yep.
And take our shit. So when they do show up out of context for no reason, except to be the reason why episode 4 turns into episode 5, is because to get revenge. Oh, those are the guys that robbed me with that medicine we needed. Random Russian dudes, please kill all of them.
Yeah, mine. I kind of collapsed to the peer pressure. I was like, no one else is around. I want Jane to think I'm cool, so I took the medicine.
She'll love this.
I I understand taking the medicine either way, though. It makes sense. Of like, you can take the medicine. Like, you have people who need it. You have a pregnant woman, and fucking look at Kenny's eye. That is not a good situation.
Honestly, don't care about pregnant woman. Care about Kenny. Pregnant woman can...
And like, dude's got a limp, but he's got a brace. They worked it out.
Yeah, he's got a brace.
It's not like he's like limping around with no cane or some shit. Like, he's obviously been seen by a doctor or something like it.
It was very specifically, I don't want to piss anyone off here, and then it doesn't matter.
No.
I would have been more okay with this situation if like you had the option to tell Jane to fucking kill Arvo. Honestly,
Yeah, just kill his ass dead. Because even when you can sort of mention that maybe he shouldn't get away, like, she kind of lets him go anyway.
Yeah, I figured.
Like, Arvo always gets away.
Yeah. But like that was like the whole linchpin of that scene, which I thought was good. Like, again, most of the scenes like by themselves I think are pretty good.
I didn't like the next scene.
Uh,
When it's like, let's go. Well, I mean, if you go get the stuff from the Civil War Museum, that's the next scene, I guess.
Yeah, the next.
Which was stupid. And the scene after that, when you go back and like deliver all the stuff, and suddenly zombies show up, wild zombies appear as soon as Rebecca breaks water.
Yeah,
I
agree.
didn't see that coming.
Did you throw out anyone to help Kenny, or did you just...
I told Mike.
I said Mike to help Kenny.
I think Mike to help Kenny. I was like, keep Kenny alive, goddammit.
Though I should have just had him to get the water, because I was pretty sure Kenny wasn't going to die, but now we don't have water.
It was like weird because when my roommate played, he had Mike get the water, and I saw the scene just happens the same way, except like Kenny like goes even crazier.
Good.
And I was like, because like it was like a very quick reaction of like, help him, I guess. But I didn't see the water option until I had already clicked the button. But yeah, like the museum scene was dumb, and it was like that was part of one of the scenes that was like, this episode is going on for way too fucking long.
Yeah. But you had fun with the raccoon, so it's really all that matters.
Worth it.
There was one moment of fun. All right, it was not worth it.
I can't believe. I hope you're not being sarcastic when you say that part was fun, are you? I hope you are.
Just like one moment of fun.
No.
Just like a little bit.
Ugh.
And if the raccoon started talking and had a gun, then it'd be fun.
If the raccoon was like, Bentley, help me.
Yeah.
And then like a hippopotamus jumps in and kills Mike.
Yes, that would be fun.
See, we should be writing season 3.
A turtle just kind of rolls in on his wheelchair.
That'd be amazing. Like a real life turtle. He whips out a cane, starts hitting Clementine's ankles. So like the last big scene, I guess, save for the cliffhanger scene, is the deck.
I love when they walk up to the deck and it's just fucking Luke and Jane chilling.
Yeah.
And Kenny's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I was like also in the moment where I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Seriously?
It was
mostly
hilarious.
because there were zombies attacking.
Got some of that strange though, so that's all
yeah, right before the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
He's getting that Jane Strange.
Jane Strange, yeah.
Whatever, man. They had time. I don't blame them.
Exactly, yeah. They're just like, that's what they said. They're like, we had some free time, so we. I was like, makes sense, Luke.
And everyone's acting all fucking incredulous. Like, I mean, Rebecca's pregnant because she had some free time once. Like, let's not pretend we're not in this situation for free time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the reason we're even doing this right now.
It was just like, and a lot of people have brought this up, but a lot of them were like, it was super out of character for Luke. And I don't think that was out of character for Luke. I thought him like just being a total dick the whole rest of the episode was super out of character. It seemed like weird. He was like super aggressive, where he had been kind of like agreeable, I guess is the best word for it. Like not necessarily like a pushover, but he would think of things to do and he would go with ideas he thought was good. But after that scene, he's just like trying to get in an argument with everyone. It seems like, especially Kenny.
Well, he's super defensive because they kind of rolled in on his shit, and Kenny like immediately blew up at him. and him and Kenny just don't have a good relationship anyway.
Yeah.
And then Jane just like bounces, and he's like, "But I loved her," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Well,
obviously.
you've known her for 6 hours, so maybe you didn't love her." But
Yeah. Maybe not.
yeah, a lot of his feelings hurt at once.
So the
Poor
deck
Luke.
scene is where Sarah dies.
Yay!
When she's alive, that's when did she just fall off the
Yeah.
deck into a zombie?
The deck collapses and it like lands on her, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It like lands on her. And
Why
she's
is she
still
under it?
She gets caught under the deck, like under
somehow. Because Sarah figured out a way to fall from while standing on the deck and end up underneath it.
debris.
That's a way worse death.
So like, is Jane hanging off the deck at any point
Yeah.
for you,
Showing
Garrett?
us
No.
Fuck
No, wait,
no.
she does. She falls off, and Luke like pulls her up.
Okay, so like, there's a moment where Jane is hanging off the deck and Sarah's under the deck, under the collapsed part of the deck, and you have the option to pull Jane up or to tell her to go get Sarah. And I've seen both options. I'm sure you just pulled Jane up, right?
Yeah, I was like, you've got to be kidding me with this choice.
Yeah, right.
Easiest choice ever.
It was weird because like I was trying to be nice to Sarah, but it was, at this point I'm like, fuck, I don't fucking care anymore. Even I, the guy who does the nice option every time, was like, fuck
Sarah.
And then like you pull Jane up and she pieces like right in front of you, like her face gets torn off.
And you all just watch.
Yep.
Everyone
That's how it
watches
is
her
in the
die.
trailer. Like, you get pulled up and look back, and she's like, she starts screaming for her dad, and then a hand comes and just like rips her face off, like slowly out of nowhere.
Yep.
And I'm like, well,
Yep.
she's dead. And then the three just kind of sit and take it in. I'm like, well, this is awkward.
Perfect moment.
She definitely screams a lot, which
Yeah.
was noticeable, and she screams for like 10 seconds after the zombies are on top of her. But if you drop Jane down, Jane like starts pulling boards off of Sarah, and at some point a plank falls and hits Jane on the head, and Luke's like, Jane, get out of there! And then you have the option to say no, help her, or just run. And then I think Jane, regardless, just runs back up the deck and leaves Sarah for dead.
So,
I like how-
there's literally no way to save Sarah in this episode. She's got to die.
And then Jane says to Clementine, I'm sorry, I did all I could. And Clementine could say, you didn't try hard enough, or like, thank you for at least trying. So,
You can't go in for the hug.
no,
You guys can't hug it out afterwards.
you can't hug it out.
It's a shame.
Missed opportunity.
No hugs, 4 out of 10.
So Sarah gets real fucked up either way.
Perfect.
I thought that was a better death for Sarah, though.
Yes.
Just judging by descriptions.
More pain induced.
I
more
mean,
screaming.
it's definitely a sillier death.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super silly. I liked it.
I did too. Oh, I loved it.
And so then Rebecca has her baby after the deck collapses
Blech.
and it's stillborn, and then it's not. It's fine.
Yeah, then it's not. And then Kenny gets all weird about it.
Yeah. Kenny's like, my baby. The whole time, obviously. Like, I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, as soon as Kenny helps
Yeah,
live
I
with
knew
his baby,
Kenny was
he's
going to be like, there's Duck.
Yeah, he's like,
Kenny's like one of those crazy, like, Midwest moms who, like, steal kids out of, like, grocery store carts and, like, raise them for,
yeah,
like, 10 years, and they're, like, on an SVU episode.
That's
That's
why
what Kenny
Duck's
is
so
right now.
stupid. So, yeah, I like. So if you have the medicine, you can give like Rebecca Oxycontin, right? I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you don't, you don't.
And nothing
In case
happens.
you were wondering, you're just
So you can
like-
choose not to give it to her anyway,
yeah.
making stealing the medicine, like, completely, like, a non-point.
So like then you get this. So Jane leaves. I expected that as well because at that
She's
point
just gotta be a peacock. I let her fly.
Yeah. You know.
There was
I-
a second where she stopped when I was talking to her, and I was like, come on, come back, come back. And nope.
Did anyone ask if they can go with her?
I did.
What she
I was like,
said?
can I just go with you and just leave this bullshit? And she's like,
Yeah.
no, you can't go with me.
And like I like how after that she's like, don't trust them. They'll get you killed. I'm like, well, then let me fucking go with you. I can't handle seeing you die just like my sister, because you definitely will. It's like, thanks for the fucking vote of confidence. So then, like, the next major decision after Luke throws a hissy fit is to leave in the morning.
Right. God, you hate Luke.
There was a hissy fit.
I don't hate Luke, but
he was making some points.
I didn't like that part. That was the part with Luke that I didn't like. It's just like him just getting super aggressive out of, like, not necessarily out of nowhere, but just like he hadn't been like that for the most part through the season, and it annoyed me.
Well, I feel like he hadn't had an opportunity, like a same set of circumstances either. Like, he had been in a group that obviously had ties with like a crazy tyrant person, and was kind of living in fear. And everyone he was around were like a cousin and like an old dude and this chick who's pregnant and her maybe baby daddy and a child. Like, he met someone who A, is a woman, and B, can take care of herself, and was like super interested in being like adults with him for right now. Because like his closest friend was Clementine, who's like 11-year-old. And he's like, I mean, I am a pedophile, but that's weird.
Oh,
so if I can actually opt out of pedophilia and be with this adult for this time that we have, and we all know that any one of us can die like in a second. So he got like super into that thought and that like justification, and then it immediately disappeared. And I think his irrational like response to it is pretty justified. I don't think I'd hold it against him really, because he kind of recovered rather quickly. I think it's not like there was enough time for him to continue being a dick. It was kind of like that one moment where he was like, "Fuck, why didn't she tell me?" As if she should have, like, he was entitled to an explanation, which he wasn't. But past that, then it's like the next scene where they're walking through the cold. Him and Kenny argue about some shit, and then everyone gets held up by Russians. Like, yeah. I don't think it's super uncharacteristic, because he's like a pretty big-hearted, like, kind of just wants everybody to, like, you know, succeed and win. And he was finally going to win himself, he felt, and then immediately isn't.
I mean, it makes more sense when you frame it like that. I wish, to me, when I was playing it, it felt natural. It felt unnatural when I was seeing it happen. And, like, seeing it twice over, it was just like, why are you stirring up shit? Although, like, I was ready to stir up shit with Kenny, so from that perspective, I can understand. I'm curious, did you guys hold the baby?
I did.
I think I did. I said I don't know how, and then I think she shows you, and I think I do. I don't remember what happens after that.
I didn't. I refused.
I don't know your stank-ass baby.
What a black heart.
I was thinking, because, like, if it was me, I wouldn't have.
Oh, in real life, I would have ran the opposite direction for sure, but babies.
Like, I'm always terrified. Anyone's like, you want to hold the baby? I'm like, fuck no. I'm going to drop it and kill it, and you're going to blame me for the rest of
I'm going to be that guy.
Exactly what I think. I'm not going to be the person who kills the baby.
But, like, people, I joke, but, like, I legitimately feel that around babies. I don't like holding them.
Me too.
When I, you know what, when I have one of my own, I'll figure it out. But, like,
I hope so.
Until then, fuck that shit. So you can leave the next morning, or like in a few days, right? That's the next big option.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes a difference, though.
I don't think it does either.
I mean, obviously, you can't make an actual difference because you have to get held up by Russians.
Right.
But, I mean, is a difference between Rebecca dying or not?
I don't know. Like,
Did you guys wait, or did you guys go immediately?
I went immediately.
I think I went immediately.
I waited.
Okay.
Is it all snowy and stuff when you guys are walking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did what's her, Rebecca, or who gives a fuck, die?
Yeah.
I might have waited.
Because she, like, sits on a rock while, like, the hold-up's happening, and is, like, falls asleep and then dies and then comes back.
Yep. That's how it happened in mine, too.
Holding the baby, and I was like, Kenny, don't look at this, because you're going to take this the whole wrong way. And then he does, and takes it the entire wrong way.
Yeah. Like, so with this ending scene, like, I said before, the most frustrating thing about it, I think, was, like, it felt so scripted. Like it felt like, I mean, obviously, one, we know that this was going to happen regardless. But like, they make you feel like you fucked up.
Yeah.
When it's not your fault. I guess technically you guys can feel like you fucked up because you stole from Arvo.
Yeah.
But like I didn't, and I guess like maybe he's like a little bit nicer.
I don't think so. Probably not.
To me, where he's like, just lay down your, like, give us everything you have and then we'll leave. Is basically what he says. And then, like, so you just have the final option of to shoot Rebecca or to yell for help, which I just didn't want to be the first person to shoot a gun. I did not do it for that reason because I knew exactly what was going to happen. So did you guys shoot Rebecca?
No, I yelled for help. Then Kenny shot Rebecca, and I was like, fuck.
I shot Rebecca.
Of course you did.
For sure. And I saw shoot Rebecca because I was like, baby's still alive. I can save her. And I hit shoot Rebecca, and I'm like, I'm about to shoot a gun while we're at gunpoint. And I was like,
yeah,
fuck.
we're at a Mexican standoff, and maybe no one should shoot a gun right now. But
I was like, no. And then Luke was like, no. And the episode was over after gunshots, and I was like, fuck.
That's exactly why I didn't shoot a gun. Because I was like, there's too many guns pointed. Someone's going to get shot, and it's going to be bad. So maybe I'll talk to like one of the adults who will have like a really logical explanation on how to get the baby from the zombie and not kill each other. And Kenny's like, nope, fuck that, and just shoots her in the face. I was like, God damn it.
Like,
I could have did it myself.
I like that Kenny does like do it in the most badass way of like he doesn't even fucking say a single word. He just points a gun and shoots at her.
He looks for like a second and he's like, oh, she's dead, and just shoots her in the face.
He's just been fucking waiting for that to happen so he could take the baby. Like my thing was like, I know as soon as someone shoots a gun, which someone will shoot a gun, and it's not gonna be me, other people are gonna start shooting guns. So I was like, if I don't shoot the gun, maybe they won't shoot their guns at me, and I can slip out of this because I'm a child and I'm little and I can weasel out. That was my whole thought process.
See, now you guys see why I think I fucked up so much. Because at least Jared and I both stole the medicine, but he didn't shoot. So I stole medicine and I started the shootout. So I suck.
So like the stealing the medicine could play deeply into the next episode because I think it's pretty, like, my assumption at this point, because they did not give you a next time on, obviously. My assumption is that, like, half of your group is dead, maybe a couple of the Russians are dead, but for the most part, you're going to get captured. Like, or you're going to be running away from them. And then maybe, because I didn't take the medicine, at some point there will be a moment with Arvo, and I'm less fucked than you guys are.
or his sister, if his sister exists.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. Let's talk about the fact that there's just an entire Russian. What state are we in at this point? Are we still in Georgia? Doesn't matter. Why are there so many Russians?
Yeah. Why is there a sect of Russians just in the middle of Georgia?
Well-armed Russian army.
Everybody knows Russians are in South Carolina. I mean, it's got to be it.
Right. It makes total sense. And the fact that they wouldn't just cut loose Arvo and his metal legs.
Yeah, limping.
It's weird, like, that, I don't know, Arvo seemed to be on kind of, like, thin ice with them. At least from what it seemed like to me. As opposed to, like, he definitely didn't seem like their leader. The female, I thought, was the leader, because she didn't say anything. So, I don't know. Like, it's hard to predict what's gonna happen next episode, because like it could go either like everybody in your group is dead, and Clementine's the only one left alive.
Fuck that! I'd be so pissed if everyone died.
And the baby, it's Clementine and the baby, and that's it. But like, realistically, there's no way that baby is surviving through the end of the season. I refuse to believe that.
You don't think Clementine's got to raise a baby in season 3?
If that is how this season ends, I will be so fucking pissed.
Or like Jane comes back to scoop him up, her and the baby.
I
and
would
it's
not
just
be
like
surprised if
a
Jen.
triple threat.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jane came back, but, like, that baby, man. I just don't see it happening.
That Jane's gonna totally come back and like sacrifice herself for Clementine to take the baby and run.
Like,
Or you'll have the option. That'll be the last big decision to take the baby or leave the baby here.
like if, I would like that option. I would fucking leave the baby because I'm a kid and I'm not raising no baby.
I gotta raise
You've been alive for 3 days. You can. You're not important. You've made no impact.
Well, like that is like the ultimate shitty decision of like, do I save this baby or do I not save this baby? I'm like,
Right.
kid does not know how to raise a baby,
Exactly.
let alone to have to basically raise themselves still and raise someone else. That's not happening.
Exactly. Like the only person you've made an impact on, I just shot in the face. So don't think I want to do it to you too.
Yeah. So if that is the option, I will tell you right here, right now, I'm fucking leaving that baby.
So do you think So if you could pick, who do you think if someone dies because of the shootout, who do you think it is?
I think Mike's
Mike.
dead.
Mike.
Mike's
'Cause
so
the
dead.
newest,
Yeah,
the
Mike's
newest
totally
edition
dead.
is always in the most danger.
Mike's not gonna be the only guy who made it. That's not gonna work.
Like I could see Nick getting severely wounded. Maybe Kenny
Nick's
pulling
dead.
out. Not Nick.
Nick's
Sorry, Luke.
Luke.
Luke getting severely wounded. So like at some point he has to die.
Doesn't he already have
Kenny-
a broken arm though? God, that guy.
Like ribs, I think.
He has like a
yeah.
sprained ankle or broken ribs. So like Luke getting hurt, Kenny somehow making it out alive, and Mike's fucked.
What about what's her name still with him?
I hope
The
Bonnie
other chick?
lives through this, because like I think it's also a possibility that you run into Carver's people, and if you have Bonnie with you, that situation would be much easier to diffuse. But yeah, like I think the 400 Days characters are going to come back, and whatever happens with Carver's group is going to play out here. Because like it's easy to forget like that you basically left them shit for luck, and some of them are gonna die, and they're gonna be pissed at Clementine and that group, for fucking everything.
Do you think that we'll see? Just curious. What's her name from the first meets Krista?
Krista?
For a second after this, I was like, what if these are the people that took Krista at the end of episode 1? They weren't speaking Russian, but like I can't imagine that everyone in this group speaks
Well,
Russian.
the people that took Krista are the people that you found dead.
Oh
on the
yeah, that's
riverbed.
right. So is Krista just gone? I would like to at least
I don't know. Like
get a
I
little bit
think
of closure with her.
Did they ever resolve Krista? I have no idea.
No.
they didn't. Like you.
I mean, I realize it wouldn't always happen. There wouldn't always be a resolution, but like, it's a fucking video game. Give me some resolution.
What
Like,
if she's leader of Russian gang?
Like I think it's possible that they're saving her for the wild card, the surprise. That makes sense. Honestly, they did the same thing with Kenny, so why wouldn't they do it again?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's a good point. I'd bet that Krista comes back in some way
Because like Krista raises the baby since
hers died.
Yeah, since hers died.
Yeah.
I don't know. It literally
Makes
just
sense. It's worth noting that since the last time we recorded these, they announced that there will be a Telltale's Walking Dead Season 3, where Clementine might not necessarily be the playable character, or the main character.
I'd be fine with that.
That's literally all we know, and yes, I'm very much okay with that.
Not because I'm not. I mean, I loved playing as Clem, but like I'd be ready to start a whole without any like the carried over history with everybody. Like start fresh with someone new in a new area and the new. Because really, when it comes to like the game and the comics and the shows, you really only see what it's like in Georgia.
Yeah.
I would like to see like a different part of the U.S. or a different part of the world, even.
Like, I don't know if they'd go that far, but I would like to see a new group of people at least.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what I really liked the first season because there was nothing really established, and you were establishing everything as you went along. And it feels more adventure-y, I think, that way. And, like, the second season kind of relying on Clementine and relying on Kenny, I think is what has turned me off a little bit to it. Because right now, those are my two least favorite parts about it. Which is, like, disappointing, because, like, I really liked both aspects of that in the first season. But, you know, it rubs different people the wrong way. But yeah, Jared, do you have any suspicions on what might happen in the third episode, or final episode, I should say?
I don't know. I have no idea what's happening anymore. Like, I'm not even sure I care.
Yeah.
At this point, like, this season has been one, like, really good episode, and then a bunch of good parts and bad episodes. And I don't know that anything can happen in the fifth episode that'll change my perspective of this entire thing.
Yeah. Do you think that this episode fell into the Telltale episode 4 like shtick?
I mean, maybe, but I think this episode is better than 1. Like, the worst episode isn't the 4th episode in this season. It may be the one with the least amount of solid progression, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the whole season is marred by a lack of solid progression.
Yeah.
You're always kind of just meandering, like, from event to event, and each event only has a small, barely noticeable, like, influence on the other ones.
You never really had a destination this whole season. You just
Right, you kind of just been walking around these guys who are slowly dying around you by decisions that are pretty much their own.
Yeah. It's frustrating. I think it's like, you know, and it's not like The Walking Dead season 1 had a specific goal until, I guess, the end, when the last 2 episodes, or the last 3 episodes, really, you were trying to get a boat, trying to get to the water. But even that, like, it wasn't super specific, but the establishing of, like, relationships between the characters, like, you were founded kind of on a good basis, and it made more sense. But, like, the progression in this, like, moving from one event to the next has been the weakest part. Like, if you had asked me in episode 1 if I thought I'd be back with Kenny, or back with someone I knew, and a bunch of new characters, pretty much Bonnie and Mike, who are pretty much completely new to Clementine, and then Luke is still there, and Kenny's there, and now Rebecca's dead, and there's a baby. Like, if like I knew that was coming, I'd be like, how in the fuck would I even get there?
Yeah.
And it's like these weird, random, completely chance events have led you there. Like, Carver showed up. You followed, like you met these people because of bullshit. Like, you got bit by a dog again. Still bothers me.
And like fell down a river.
Yeah, and they
like,
lock you in a shed and figure you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you go with them for like no good reason, because they clearly don't trust you. And then some psychopath is following you, and then he captures you, and then you kill him, or like you lead to the events that cause his death. And now all this shit happens.
And now, like, the next episode is just like a baby's about to get born, so, you know, there's that. And now what? We're just going to walk around.
Now there's a baby and Russians.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know about this.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm just like, what the fuck is happening?
What is even going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm expecting... I'm not expecting the season to redeem itself in the last episode. But, like, what note do you finish on for, like, this weird, completely all over the place tone that they've kind of established? Like I said, like, the ones that make sense to me at this point is, like, Clementine killing Kenny and, like, basically forsaking any human contact for the rest of forever, or Clementine dying.
Yay, optimism.
And it's like, in the context and tone of the Walking Dead world, those are the ones that make sense.
Yeah, those are definitely options.
And it's weird. It's impossible to be optimistic about this ending, especially with Russians just having guns.
Yeah.
But even in reflection, like, what kind of arc as a character has Clementine even really gone through right now? Like, the first episode, she was, still, I guess, relatively naive, though the events of one have made her most of what she is by the episode 4. She's like a kid who realizes she has to start getting tougher because the world's not going to be nicer.
Yeah.
But
Basically because someone told her that.
yeah. And then she has a moment in the woods by herself, almost gets killed by dudes, gets bitten by a dog, ends up with these other creepy people who have been running from a creepier person. Mm-hmm. And all these events have kind of you've always had the option to just kind of be meek about the situation, even up until now. There's no, like, definitive difference in Clementine up until this point.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, like, she hasn't grown at all as a character.
Right. You can still be Clementine from episode 1 and episode 4.
And it's like the frustrating thing about that is, like, you're playing as a child, and I was skeptical about that from the get-go. But, like, if you're playing as a child, you should grow. Like, you should change. Everything around you should be changing you noticeably, constantly. And nothing's changed.
But don't you have the option to choose whether or not you act like Clementine episode 1 or act more bold? And isn't that more on you as like your playstyle than as Clementine as like the way it's set up?
It is, but
because I feel like my Clementine's become more bold.
Like, you're only as bold as your next decision. Like, you can be bold this time and then not be bold the next time. And then suddenly, like, what are you even being? Like, it's only making sense if you make the narrative make sense every single time. Like, it's up to you to sort of be consistent in your decision-making. But the story then, if you're not, the story makes less sense.
Right.
And it's like my Clementine has just been bitter the entire way through. And, like, yes, maybe that is how I would portray her through it, but it feels like nothing's changed. And every time something happens, an event happens, the reality of your personality type, like whether you were bitter to one response, cold, bold, anything, all of these events have happened pretty much outside of your realm of control. Like, the most important decision Clementine made this entire season was whether or not to cut off Sarita's arm. That was, like, the one time where things were kind of put in her way. And, like, in episode 2, when you have the option to tell Kenny to stop or not, and that will result in whether or not Elvin lives or dies, it still doesn't feel ultimately like your decision. Because you're not holding a gun. So, I don't know. I think that's the challenge they've faced here, and I feel like they could leave Clementine on a note where she feels different, but I am skeptical that they can. But we'll see. You know.
And that may be a weakness in the writing, but it also might just be weakness in the formula. Like, the Telltale formula is one that ultimately is giving you choices that aren't really yours. Yeah. At the end of the day, the story is going in one direction, and it's the subtleties you control. At the end of the day, the same people will probably be dead, or whatever.
Yeah, it's hiding that better. That is.
The game, the real design becomes how well could we hide it around the rest of the narrative, and I don't think that worked.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, because I immediately pulled out and kind of looked at it as a story, and not so much my experience as Clementine, but this whole sort of narrative as a big web. So I'm not making decisions that I would make. I'm making decisions that Clementine should make.
Yeah. And, like, as soon as that suspension of disbelief is gone, the whole thing falls apart.
Right. And that might be my problem with the game. I can understand how people can love the game because they're playing legitimately in her perspective, trying to make decisions she would make and decisions they would make and make sure they're kind of aligned. I don't think that's as easy in this game as it is in other Telltale games, even like Sam and Max. Like, you aren't making very difficult decisions, but your decisions were where are they going to go. Sam and Max are going to be the people they're going to be, but they're going to be them in very particular places, and that's going to change this particular bubble in the narrative. It may not change the end, but it changes what you're about to see.
Yeah. And, like, it can be done well. Telltale themselves have done it well. And, you know, we'll see. I think this is, like, at this point, for me, it's a wait-and-see game. Like, I'm not necessarily super excited for Episode 5, but I definitely want to see this through. They didn't lose me halfway through the season like I was worried they might. But that's it. Do you have any last thoughts, Jacob?
No, I mean, pretty much hit on everything that I've had a problem with. I still think I like it a little more than you guys do, but I also like Clementine and playing as Clementine more than either of you do, it seems. Especially you, Alex. You definitely hate Clementine at this point.
I don't hate Clementine. I'm just like really disappointed with what feels like a very short list of options with her, to me.
Yeah.
But like, I'm glad that it does appeal, at least in some way, to someone. Because you know, I think it just reflects more on me that this really hasn't been my style.
I mean, it's season 2 has probably been out of, the Telltale games I've played, not counting like Back to the Future and those ones. Of like the more recent ones, Smiley's favorite. I like Wolf Among Us. Obviously, is really good.
Yeah,
definitely a lesser version of season 1 of The Walking Dead too. So
yeah, and we'll see. We'll see how they wrap it up. Obviously, we're curious to see what you guys watching did. If you'd like to let us know if things played out differently for you or what you think is going to happen next, please leave it in the comments below and subscribe on the YouTubes, because that is the only way to watch these. But yeah, I think that wraps it up. I'm sure we are probably weeks away, just a few weeks away from the final episode at this point, because that Walking Dead episode came out in
the end of July? No, like mid-July, something like that. God, I don't know.
July 18th, around there, I think. So we'll be getting it soon, probably the first week of September, if I did guess, or by the end of this month. So we'll probably be back sooner rather than later, hopefully, if we can schedule this. And we will be discussing the finale. So look forward to that. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.
Hey there.